All right. Bo Nickal versus Reinier de Ridder. Now, both are technically undefeated in the UFC. So if we look at the records here, we got Bo Nickal. So if you don't count the Dana White Contender Series and all that, he's currently on a 4-fight win streak, including the Dana White Contenders. He's on a 6-fight win streak, and then he was in I guess Masvidal's Icon fighting, and he won another one. So he's currently 7-0 right now, undefeated. You know, I wouldn't say all the confidence in the world because the Paul Craig one definitely showed a few things in his game that he is kind of lacking. Perhaps he's lacking confidence in grappling with elite grapplers, and I don't know if Paul Craig's elite, but he's definitely a specialist when it comes to grappling. He has zero striking. He went to decision with him, and then before that, he submitted Cody Brundage in round 2, and then before that, what did he do? TKO'd Valentine Woodburn in round 1, and then he triangle choked Jamie Pickett in round 1 as well. Now, on the other hand, you look at Reinier de Ridder, and that's the thing, I wasn't following his one career or anything like that. So if you look, he is currently undefeated in the UFC as well, with 2 wins. His first coming by arm triangle choke on Gerald Meerschaert, and then on the next one, he got a rear naked choke on Kevin Holland. Now, obviously, if you look at both their records, they both know what they're doing on the ground. That's without a doubt. And the thing that's, kind of confusing to me is why Bo Nickal didn't go to the ground with Paul Craig. Like I said, he's not a world beater. He is good, but he's not a world beater. And that's the thing. I was watching Reinier de Ridder versus Gerald Meerschaert, and he did not look great at all. He got the win, but he did not look great. And what I'm thinking to myself is like, okay, if Bo Nickal doesn't want to go use his grappling against grapplers that are, not tip of the spear, but, they're decent. Like Paul Craig, I'll give him that. Like in a grappling only, let's say he had to go against, the top 15 in the division, he definitely would do well. I don't know if he would be, top 5. But then again, he has submitted like Ankalaev. He has submitted Jamal Hill. So I don't know. I get why Bo Nickal wouldn't want to do that. But at the same time, Paul Craig was a lot bigger than Bo Nickal. And he did not look like he was in control with the striking whatsoever. And he's going to be in the same problem with Reinier de Ridder. Reinier de Ridder is a lot bigger than him. And I think Reinier de Ridder, he has both striking and wrestling as well. Well, grappling or whatever. So I think Bo Nickal's path to victory is definitely, you have to implement somewhat of your wrestling because Reinier de Ridder is not just going to let him reset. Because I was watching his interviews. He said the main thing that Paul Craig did wrong was anytime they got into an exchange, Paul Craig let Bo Nickal reset and gather his bearings, then, go for another overhand and try again. I believe Reinier de Ridder is going to put on a lot more pressure than Paul Craig. And I just don't know if Bo Nickal has the, like the holy fuck power where it's just like one shot done to really keep Reinier de Ridder away from him. If Bo Nickal's going to win this fight, I think what he's going to have to do is he's going to have to grapple heavy. Like, try to drown him earlier on in the fight. Use that, American wrestling that's, better than everything. Like the fucking all the wrestlers think in America. They're so biased. And we've seen multiple, time and time again where it's like, oh, he's so good at American wrestling. And then they just look mediocre, right? And this is going to be both their hardest fight in the UFC to date. Because if you look at Reinier de Ridder as well, Kevin Holland, I mean, he's all right on the feet, but when it goes to the ground, he kind of just, I don't want to say give up, but like there's not a lot of urgency there, right? And then you look at Bo Nickal coming off a decision, and I don't know. I think if Bo Nickal wins, I think it'll be by decision. I think it'll be. I don't think he has the striking acumen to get him out of there, de Ridder. And I don't think he's going to sub him either. I think DeRitter knows what he's doing on the ground. I think if anything, it's going to be a close decision where Bo Nickal will get it because, they want, for some reason, they want Bo Nickal to be their star. Same thing with Chandler. I guess it's because they're American and they have a big market there. I guess Bo Nickal was really popular from his wrestling days and all that. But I don't know. I think, and if DeRitter wins, I think, because he was saying his plan to victory would be like strike a little, crack him, bring him to the ground, and then submit him while he's all dazed and confused, like, oh. But the thing is, I don't know, if Bo Nickal brings his A game, I really think he can kind of like combat DeRitter's grappling as well. It's just how does Bo Nickal deal with the striking if he's willing to engage with that constant pressure from DeRitter. I think the biggest mistake DeRitter can do is go on his back foot and let Bo Nickal, control the dance. And I think he watched the Paul Craig fight, like I said. He knows that's the mistake that Paul Craig made, and I think he's going to learn from that. But do I think he's going to beat Bo Nickal? I don't know. It's tough to call because both haven't looked, amazing lately. Because that's the thing, beating Kevin Holland. Kevin Holland's got a lot of losses lately, and you got to take that into account when you talk about like, especially it's like, what does this win over him actually do? His stock's quite low. Sure, it's a win over Kevin Holland, but I don't know. And Paul Craig is the most hit or miss kind of fighter on the UFC. So I don't know, especially going to decision with Paul Craig. Like you've seen so many people who are like, especially in the light heavyweight division, that are not as good as Bo Nickal on the ground or striking, and they just kind of get him out of there with ease. I don't know. But at the same time, I don't see DeRitter knocking out Bo Nickal. I think if anything, he might rock him on the feet. I think he might surprise Bo Nickal because he does have a lot of experience. It is in a lower division or company like one. It's not as good as the UFC by any means. But DeRitter has a lot of championship experience. He was a champion over there. He knows how to manage his cardio. And that's the thing. We'll give him the benefit of the doubt with the Gerald Meerschaert fight because, look at Patricio Pitbull. Look at every fighter that kind of comes to the UFC. I guess Michael Chandler did all right because he knocked out Dan Hooker. But for the most part, a lot of fighters are very nervous when they come to the UFC. So their first fight, it's like, okay, we'll give them the benefit of the doubt. It is what it is. So in conclusion to that, I think it's going to be a very close fight. I think there's going to be a lot of controversy after it. I think if anyone's going to have any moments on the feet, I think it'll probably be DeRitter. Unless Bo Nickal can really tire him out with the wrestling in the earlier rounds and clip him later on. I don't think it's going to be, I don't think anyone's going to get dropped in the earlier rounds. If anyone's going to get dropped, it's going to be in the later rounds. I think it's going to be round, end of round 2, maybe round 3. If I'm going to make an official prediction for this, I'm going to say Bo Nickal by controversial decision. I don't think it's going to be an easy fight for either one. I think, especially since a lot of the fans are turning on Bo Nickal, so I think that'll sway a lot of people's minds when they're going to the judges as well. But I don't know. I just see Bo Nickal. I think it's going to be like a 55-45 kind of thing, where it's just like Bo Nickal just barely beats him, And yeah, from this fight, I don't know. I wouldn't mind seeing Bo Nickal versus one of those wrestlers like, Ikram Aliskerov or maybe even Paulo Costa. I think if Bo Nickal goes against Paulo Costa, that'd be a pretty funny build-up. I think that would do a lot for his stock as well. Because, yeah, Bo Nickal, I think if he wants to really regain the fans' approval and all that, he needs a finish. I just don't think DeRitter is going to be as easy as he thinks it's going to be. Especially with that size and everything. I think Bo Nickal by decision, 29-28. Let's go for that. As you were saying, let's go for that. 29-28, Bo Nickal. Thanks for watching. Like and subscribe. And see you guys next time.